Chosen ones, this message you are about to hear is a divine revelation from the throne of heaven. If you are here today, know that it's not an accident. God Himself led you here. Long before you pressed play, He saw you. He saw your confusion, your silent questions, and your weary prayers. He saw the moments you looked at your life and wondered why things aren't moving, why doors remain shut, and why it feels like you're doing everything right, yet still feel stuck in the same place. And heaven speaks to you right now. Until you surrender, you'll keep feeling stuck. This is not condemnation. It is a divine invitation into freedom. This is not rejection. It is a call into alignment with my will. This is not punishment. It is preparation for the place I am leading you. God is not here to push you away. He is here to draw you closer, to shift the weight from your shoulders to His, and to lead you into the flow of His perfect timing. Now, I need you to slow down. Stop rushing past this moment. Open your heart wide, even in the places you've kept guarded. This is a conversation between you and your Creator. I want you to walk with me, step by step, like we're teaching a newborn how to take their very first steps in truth. We are going to move carefully, but deeply. We are going to touch the root of the resistance in your life and confront the hidden places you've been afraid to surrender. We're going to build you from the inside out until every chain of self-dependence snaps, until the weight of delay is broken, until the fire of surrender consumes every corner of your will. This is where God begins to turn your stuck into scent. This is where He replaces confusion with clarity, frustration with peace, and stagnation with supernatural acceleration. But it all begins here, with your surrender. Before we go any further, if this message is stirring something deep within you, take a moment to like this video. If you felt God drawing you closer in this season, hit subscribe and stay connected. And don't stay silent. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. Let's watch the remnant rise from every corner of the earth. To every faithful giver using the link pinned in the comment section or super thanks feature, your offering is more than generosity. It's spiritual agreement. You're not just sowing money, you're sowing surrender. You're saying, God, I align with your will. And because of that, expect the covering of heaven, supernatural clarity, and the strength to walk boldly through whatever comes next. Let's go deeper. Let's begin from the foundation. Imagine a car engine running, wheels spinning fast, but the car is trapped in the mud. It's not the engine's fault. It's not the fuel's fault. It's the ground that's holding it. That's what life feels like for many of you right now. You are busy but unfruitful. Moving but not progressing, trying but not breaking through. You wake up tired. You pray, but the heavens feel silent. You work, but the reward is missing. You try, but you still feel stuck. Now hear this clearly. Being stuck is not always about external problems. It's not always because of enemies, toxic people, or missed opportunities. Sometimes it's internal resistance. You're stuck not because life is unfair, but because your will is standing in the way of God's will. You're holding on to what He's asking you to release. You're negotiating with a past He has already told you to leave behind. And as long as you're wrestling to keep control, you can't step into the next chapter He's written for you. This is why God brought you to this moment, to teach you how to get unstuck by surrendering. Not partial surrender, but full surrender. The kind where you place the keys of your life in His hands and stop trying to drive from the passenger seat. The kind where you trust Him even when you can't see the road ahead. Because when you release your grip, you'll realize the mud was never stronger than the one who called you forward. You just had to let Him take the wheel. Let's say you're holding a toy in your hand and someone wants to give you a bigger, better gift, but your hand is already full. You can't receive anything new unless you let go. That is surrender. It's the choice to release what you're clinging to so that your hands, heart, and life are open for something greater. Many of us keep praying for more, yet we're still holding on to less. We want God to fill us, but we haven't made room for Him to pour. Until your grip loosens, your capacity to receive stays small. Surrender means letting go of your way, your plan, and your control, and giving God full permission to lead. It's an intentional choice to step out of the driver's seat and allow Him to take full command of the journey. It's not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. True surrender begins when you admit that God is not just a little bit wiser than you. He is infinitely wiser, infinitely stronger, and infinitely more loving than you could ever be toward yourself. That's why you can say with confidence, God, you are smarter than me. You love me more than I love myself. So I choose to trust you, even when I don't understand. Think of a baby resting in their father's arms, not calculating where they're going, not analyzing every step, but simply trusting the embrace. That is the posture of a surrendered heart. It's the stillness Psalm chapter 46 verse 10 speaks of when it says, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is not laziness or passivity. It's the deep inner rest that comes when you stop fighting the one who is fighting for you. You stop running on anxiety and start walking in trust. Surrender is stillness in your spirit, but it is not inactivity in your life. It is an active decision to give life back to God. Every plan, every fear, every timeline, every outcome. It's the constant returning to Him when your flesh tries to take back control. When you live surrendered, you don't lose. You exchange. You trade uncertainty for God's assurance, small dreams for His greater vision, and limited strength for His limitless power. And that's when you discover that letting go was never the end. It was the beginning of everything He had for you all along. This is where many believers get trapped. You've been doing all the right things, praying, fasting, serving, but deep down you haven't really let go. You've learned how to speak faith with your mouth while holding on tightly with your hands. You tell God He's in control, yet every time He tries to take the steering wheel, you grab it back. This silent battle between your will and His will is the very thing keeping you stuck, frustrated, and wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come. And here's what begins to happen when surrender is missing. 1. You enter cycles. You repeat the same emotional patterns, the same broken relationships, the same stress and fear, like Israel walking in circles for 40 years. They turned back and tempted God and limited the Holy One of Israel. Psalm chapter 78 verse 41. Unsurrendered people limit God, not because God is weak, but because He doesn't force Himself where He's not invited. The moment you say yes with your spirit and not just your lips, the cycle breaks. 2. Your peace disappears. When you are resisting God, your inner world is filled with noise and anxiety. You pray, but can't hear Him clearly because you're wrestling for control. Peace becomes a stranger, and your soul feels like a storm is always brewing. And then, 3. You feel spiritually dry. It's not that God left you, it's that your will is blocking the flow. You've put up a do not enter sign on certain areas of your life. God, you can have Sunday, but not my career. You can have my pain, but not my plans. That's partial surrender. And partial surrender brings partial power. You can't expect the fullness of God's blessing while holding back parts of your heart from Him. Delayed obedience is disobedience, and disobedience always leads to delay. Not because God doesn't want to bless you, but because He loves you too much to promote you into a future you haven't fully trusted Him with. The release you're waiting for begins the moment you finally let go. Let's pause and revisit the Garden of Gethsemane. It was the night before the cross, and the weight of the world's sin pressed heavily on Jesus' shoulders. In that moment of deep agony, He prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Luke chapter 22, verse 42. That one sentence carries the perfect example of surrender. Honest, raw, and fully yielded to the Father's will. Let's break that prayer down. Jesus didn't deny his emotion. He didn't pretend to be okay. He was real. He admitted, "Father, this is painful. This is heavy. This is not easy." But then he made a decision that would change everything. "Not my will, but yours be done." In that moment, he handed over the full weight of his mission to the Father, and that act of surrender unleashed the resurrection. That surrender opened the gates of salvation. That surrender shook the foundations of hell. One single moment of yielding changed the course of history forever. And here's the truth: your surrender has power too. You may not be carrying the weight of the world, but the decision you make to let go and trust God can shift the atmosphere of your life. When you truly surrender, the heavens open, the peace returns, direction comes, delays break, doors unlock, and acceleration begins. What feels like loss in the moment will become the turning point that propels you into God's perfect plan. Surrender isn't just a spiritual concept, it's the key that releases divine movement. It's the bridge between where you are and where God is calling you to be. If surrender was powerful enough to shake hell itself, imagine what it can do in your family, your future, and your destiny. The moment you say, "Not my will, but yours be done," you step into the same flow of divine power that raised Jesus from the dead. And that power is still alive in you today. Let's make this very simple. Step 1. Start with honesty. Say out loud, "Lord, I've been trying to control what I should have surrendered. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. God cannot heal what you keep hiding. He works with real hearts, not fake masks. Pour out your hearts to Him, for God is our refuge." Psalm chapter 62, verse 8. Honesty is the doorway to freedom because it rips away the illusion that you can fix everything on your own. Until you confess, you will carry burdens you were never meant to hold. Step 2. Identify the areas you haven't released. Is it your career, a relationship, your timing, your need to always be right, your fear of failure? Write them down if you have to. Speak them out loud in prayer. You cannot surrender what you refuse to acknowledge. Hidden attachments become hidden chains, and chains only break when they are brought into the light. The enemy works best in secrecy, so expose what's been holding you back. Step 3. Pray the fire. Prayer. Not just soft bless me prayers, but refining fire prayers that give God permission to burn away everything that's not from Him. Say, "God, I surrender my need to understand. I surrender the idol of control. I surrender the dream if you're not in it. Burn out anything that's not from you." That kind of prayer will shake your atmosphere. It may convict you. It may cost you. But it will also position you for supernatural clarity and freedom. Step 4. Wait quietly for instructions. After surrender, God will speak, but He often speaks in whispers, not shouts. You must become still. Silence the inner noise, slow down the racing thoughts, and give Him space to speak. This is where divine clarity is birthed. Step 5. Obey, quickly and fully. When He gives you instruction, obey it immediately, even if it feels uncomfortable or costly. Don't delay, don't negotiate, don't try to soften what He told you to do. Obedience is the visible fruit of surrender, and delayed obedience is disobedience. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Isaiah 1:19. Your next breakthrough is on the other side of your next yes. Let me take you into my own journey. I came to a point where nothing, and I mean nothing, was working. I was praying, but there was no fire in my words. I was planning, but my ideas felt empty. I was pushing, striving, and trying to force outcomes, but the more I tried, the heavier everything became. It felt like I was dragging my life uphill with no end in sight. The harder I worked, the more resistance I faced. My spirit was weary, my mind was cluttered, and my heart was restless. Then one night, broken and tired, I fell to my knees and whispered through tears, "Lord, I surrender. Not just my pain, but my plans. Not just my stress, but my strategy. I don't want to lead myself anymore. Take it all. Every dream, every timeline, every outcome, I place it in your hands." It wasn't a polished prayer, it was raw and desperate. And in that moment, something shifted. I can't fully explain it, but it was like heaven exhaled over me. The weight I'd been carrying lifted, and in its place came a strange, unshakable peace. In the days that followed, doors began to open that I had already given up on. Conversations happened that I didn't arrange. Opportunities found me without me chasing them. My clarity returned. My joy was restored. And I realized something life-changing. God didn't need more of my strength, my hustle, or my perfect plans. What he needed was my surrender. The moment I let go was the moment his power began to flow freely in my life. Let me lovingly warn you, the cost of holding on is far too high. If you refuse to surrender, you will keep walking in circles, repeating the same battles and frustrations year after year. You will drain yourself emotionally, pouring energy into things that never produce lasting fruit. You will remain stuck in delays that God never designed for you, not because he is withholding, but because you are still clutching what he asked you to release. God cannot bless the parts of your life you refuse to give him, and the longer you resist, the more you rob yourself of the peace and clarity he longs to give. And the greatest danger is this: you may miss the very thing you were born to do. Think about Jonah, called by God to deliver a message that would save an entire city. Instead of surrendering, he ran. His resistance didn't cancel God's plan, but it delayed it, and it took a storm and the belly of a fish to bring him to a place of obedience. Jonah's story is a warning to every believer who thinks they can avoid surrender and still reach their destiny. The longer you fight God, the more severe the storms may become, not to destroy you, but to redirect you. Don't wait for the storm to force you to bow. Don't wait until life falls apart to finally say yes. Surrender now, while the invitation is open and the door of grace is wide. Right now, you have the chance to lay it all down willingly, to step into the freedom and acceleration that comes when your will aligns with his. The choice is yours. Hold on and stay stuck, or let go and watch God do what only he can do. Chosen ones, everything you've been fasting for, weeping for, and believing for may be waiting on the other side of your surrender. You're not stuck because God forgot you. You're not stuck because you're cursed. You're not even stuck because the enemy is stronger. You're stuck because somewhere deep down, you're still trying to hold the steering wheel. You've been asking God to move while keeping one hand on the controls. But the moment your knees touch the ground in total surrender, heaven begins to shift on your behalf. The fire of God always falls where the sacrifice is laid. Present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. This is your reasonable service. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. The altar is not just a place in church, it is the posture of your heart. It's where you take your dreams, your fears, your timelines, and your control, and you lay them down before him. This is not just symbolic, it's spiritual law. God releases his power where he finds a life fully yielded to him. That's the altar. That's the key. That's the pathway out of spiritual stuckness. Not more striving, not more forcing, not more wrestling for control. It is the deep, quiet decision to let God be God, to stop giving him partial access and hand him the master key. When you do, the chains fall, the atmosphere shifts, and the path forward clears. Your surrender is not the end of your story. It's the opening scene of the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Speak this declaration as a covenant before heaven, not just with your lips, but with the full weight of your heart. Father, I surrender. I release control. I break every agreement with delay. I give you my plans, my pain, my pride, and my past. I trust your voice above every other voice. I obey your instructions without hesitation. I follow your lead, even when the path is unfamiliar. And from this day forward, I will never walk in resistance again. I am surrendered. I am free. I am aligned with your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Let these words seal a holy transaction between you and God. Heaven hears it, hell fears it, and your spirit is marked by it. From this moment, walk as one who has laid everything on the altar and left nothing behind. Your surrender has opened the door for God to do what only He can do. Chosen ones, this is no longer just a message. This is a holy encounter between you and the living God. Right now, something is shifting in the unseen. The chains that have held you are snapping under the weight of His presence. The cycles that have kept you going in circles are being interrupted by divine intervention. The old wineskins of your past, your pride and your self-reliance are tearing away, making room for something new. And the fire of God is falling, not on your strength, not on your effort, but on your surrender. From this moment forward, you will not live stuck. That heaviness you've been carrying is lifting. That spiritual fog is clearing. The barriers that once seemed immovable are crumbling before you. Why? Because today you laid it all down. Today you traded your control for His guidance, your striving for His strength, and your will for His perfect will. This is the day heaven marks as your turning point. You may have walked in weary, but you are walking out lighter, freer, and aligned with the one who holds your future. And when surrender truly touches your soul, nothing can stop your destiny. The enemy can throw storms, but storms can't sink a surrendered vessel. People may try to block you, but favor will go ahead of you. Delays may come, but they cannot derail what God has already decreed. Surrender doesn't make life easier. It makes you unstoppable because it places your life in the hands of the Almighty, and no one can close the door He opens. So let the fire burn away everything that doesn't belong. Let the resistance die once and for all. Let heaven move in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. You were never meant to live stuck. You were born to live surrendered, filled with the Spirit, and walking in an authority that hell itself cannot withstand. From this day on, you don't just carry a promise, you carry proof that a surrendered life is an unstoppable life.